everybody to Soul Butter.
Right. Hey, everybody.
So we're kind of shifting into a new spiritual season. We've talked a lot about cycles for the last few weeks. And we've also talked about the fact that there's no real beginning or end. It's just a flow from one thing into the next. It's where cycles link up. And you were just saying we're like woven together, right?
Right. Mhm.
And so things come through and back around, and it's, we kind of get to a place where we're like, oh, here I am again. And, this idea that we've gotten to a place now where it's not like one season ended and something else began. We're just moving into maybe the next level of consciousness of that particular season. So what is it that God wants to look at right now with us? And what is God provoking and stimulating us to do in our lives, and that kind of work or clarity or whatever it is that we're looking for? So when we talk about spiritual seasons, it's usually something that is showing up everywhere. So it becomes a collective movement of most of humanity, if not all. And you will start to see synchronicities of this, validations of this. You experience it in your own life. So this is like when you tune into your favorite podcast and you hear somebody talking about something and you're like, yes,
Exactly.
that's happening in my
Exactly
life
what
right now. So this is what we mean about a season. It's not that your story is exactly the same as everybody else's. It's just everyone's doing the same lesson. Everyone's in the same movement, the same wave, right? And so right now we are moving into a wave that is the stage just after sabotage, right? Or inside of sabotage. And so the last episode, we talked about sabotage. We talked about the anatomy of sabotage. We talked about it, how our brains are actually designed to do it on purpose in order to keep us safe. And then we talked about the mental and emotional impact that has on us, and the spiritual covering that it can provide us in times, and how we can get trapped in sabotage cycles because our ego figures out ways that sabotage then serves us, right? And so that's when it becomes difficult to really let go of things. And so what we want to talk about today is this death process that can occur during a breakthrough. And when you're right about to level up into your next level of consciousness and next level of wisdom and next level of action, we experience a death, right? And there is a collective death going on right now that is tremendous. It's big. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to let Amy talk a little bit about some of the things that she's been hearing from God herself, but also the affirmations and validations that she's hearing in her community. It's like the same language over and over again.
Right. So I would say we discussed on, I think it was our second podcast, that about the cycles and how these cycles keep coming through, and that as we're all moving together, I'm just going to kind of reflect on what you just said. There are constant growth patterns, I guess you could say, where you're exercising these muscles. And we've come to a point now where, again, back in a couple episodes ago, we talked about March being the actual real new year. So you have to go back and listen to that one. But as March is approaching, it's like this buildup and this buildup. And sometimes this death of us that Jenny was speaking about is literally, for me, this season right now, I'm seeing such significance in the death of the old self that we've been working on for so long. But now it's like God's like, okay, you're done. And it's like, wait a minute. I'm used to doing the work, and I almost feel like and Sarah Jakes Roberts, one of my favorite pastors, she was talking about how you can get stuck in like the preparation mode and it almost becomes comfortable, like the isolation, the cocoon, it becomes comfortable. And I was like cleaning up my room one day, listened to her, and I kind of stopped and I was like, uh-oh, like she's talking to me like she always is. But like there's this space where it becomes very comfortable to be isolated. I mean, coming out of quarantine, we're all feeling that feeling of like, do I want to go back out again? Do I want to get around people? How many people can I experience right now? And it's like you're this vulnerable self, but within the past couple months, I will say I kept getting, especially when the actual, linear new year hit in January 1st, I felt like God just said capital letters, G-O exclamation point. And I was like, oh yeah. And I was like all charged up. Like, yeah, we're going, like it's about to go down. Like everything I've worked for is about to happen. And then that, oh my gosh, like what does this mean for me? What does it look like? And for my physical life, I had some serious shifting. I mean, I was in California, now I'm back East Coast. Like a lot's happened in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
But
shift happens. Shift
yeah, shift
happens.
happens. Put that on the t-shirt. So I really felt the heaviness, kind of the juxtaposition of the heaviness with the excitement. Like, I'm so excited about what's to come, but oh no, what does that mean? Like, there's this constant push and pull, and it's all around me. And sometimes, if people don't have enough faith, that faith muscle hasn't been, used enough and grown enough, the fear that I fear, which I'm a person, I would like jump off the cliff. I've did it enough times. I know God's got me. But for some people, this is feeling the fear turns into extreme anxiety and depression, and it's a threat of mental illness. It's like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. And it gets very convoluted, and it's very heavy and dark. And I mean, to me, in my world, that's just the darkness, Satan, the enemy, whatever you want to call it. He's coming in because you're about to have a grand breakthrough. And every single time in my spiritual life and everyone around me, when there's a grand breakthrough, I mean, the big daddy, there's the devil comes, the darkness, the ego, all forces come against you. And we have to know how to acknowledge that, and how simple it is. That's been my lesson in the past couple of weeks, how simple it is, as we've both experienced, Jenny and I, to just, what do you do with all that? If you've been in this path for a while, how simple it is. As we both actually told friends or clients of ours, I'm not going to give away anything, but blow it away. I mean, it's the dust. It's just dust. You even said it back to me again. Like, it's just this feeling of this heaviness, but it's just dust. Blow it away. Just, and it lifts that quick if you believe in the power that you have. If you believe that you have the power, and I'm talking to people that know what I'm talking about. I know I am, like, the power in the belief that God's got you. Like, he really is working it all together. It is time. Like, it is time to go into your purpose. The work is done. I mean, he was saying that to both of us. Like, there's no more training. Not that we're going to stop learning, but like, your training time is over now. You've graduated and you're going in your purpose. Launch, go. And there is the heaviness on us right now, is that last little bit of just blow it away, let's go. And then that'll probably be the next episode when we're talking about what it feels like to be going. But right now, it's like that moment where it's mass confusion, a lot of heaviness. And I feel it. I feel really light. And I just have both the feelings where I'm like, I'm so excited. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm so excited. I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
Have you seen that meme? I haven't seen it in a while. It's like a little video of a kid. It's a little kid, and they put him down in the water, and he's like thrashing around, and he's crying, and he thinks he's gonna drown, and then he puts his feet down and stands up, and it's like only at like his waist.
Oh, that's so good though. That's literally what I've been seeing. And it's like a couple times God has given me the word to share with some people. And it's literally, that's what it did for them. It's like, hey, put your feet down.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just an illusion. And the heaviness, like you're talking about, it's like this cloud that descends on us that has this like a visceral feeling and experience and emotion. It's like our own personal little storm that descends.
And I gotta interrupt you really quick, because this was so powerful. One of the person that I was given the word to about blowing the devil like dust away, she said, Amy, it's so crazy. I kept seeing gray to the point it was so heavy, the color gray. She said, I could taste it.
Oh,
That's how thick it was.
I just got chills all over my body.
Taste gray. And she goes, I don't know if that sounds crazy. I'm like, it absolutely does not.
No. And I mean, the idea of the paradox of reality, right? Of how our mind plays tricks on us is where something that is truly real to us is not real at all, right? At the same time. And the illusion of the density, that it's actually just dust, that it's so flimsy and can be blown away with the help of God there with you and the wind of the Holy Spirit. You know, it's like the idea that just one breath could part those seas, you know, and get rid of the dust and move the obstacle out from in front of you. It's like we're fumbling around in the dark. We're completely in panic. We don't know where we are. We don't know where we're going. We feel so lost. And all we have to do is just blow the dust away. And suddenly we realize, oh my God, there was not really anything there.
I mean, that is, you said the illusion, that is one of the ultimate tools of the darkness, the enemy. That's the ultimate tool, confusion and the illusion of like, you can't believe that. You're not that. You never have been that. People don't love you like that. Nobody likes you like that. What are you thinking? You can go out there and do what you think, you know, that purpose or that vision's God given you. All those old voices, man, it's like for me, I remember telling you a couple weeks back, it was like all the voices that I felt like I had kind of like got broken into submission in my head all went buck wild. They were like, it was like so busy and all these voices, and I was still in the center and I was very grounded. I guess where I am spiritually, I don't believe them anymore. So it's much easier for me to stay. But man, were they in full attack. And it was like, I told you that I felt like God showed me they used to lay in bed with me in my intimate space. And they were there when I went to bed and they were there when I woke up. And especially when I was alone, that's when they were heaviest. But as I got more mature, I could kind of, you know, walk out of the house and leave them in the house. And then I shut them into the bedroom. And eventually God was like, you've got them outside the house now. And that's what I was talking about. Like, I'm outside of the thoughts. They're outside of my house, of my mind, my home. But he said, now you must tell them to go. Like there's a message that I keep getting over and over again. It's like, it's not enough to rebuke these things. It's not enough to say they're not allowed or do your own personal work with them, and trauma work and all that stuff is freaking awesome. And we should, you know, get down to the defining what makes us us. But then comes a time. We did the work, we've did the therapy, we've got the coaching. Then comes a time where, what do you do with all that? And he keeps saying to me, you must use the power that I've invested in you to cast these things out. Tell them to go. I sent you something, all the words that is in scripture, just to cast these things away. And he showed me, this was when I was telling you the word that I got, this was before he was telling me to cast them away because I was unsure of what I was hearing. And he showed me that I had to send them. I had to send them off.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, we can hear them. They can keep, sometimes they knock on the door louder, but we're in a season right now when, you know, and you got this grip and, you know, the ghosts are coming in, you know, like the house is being attacked and you can feel it. The house of your mind and your soul, it's being attacked. God said, hey, you have the power. I've taught you everything you need to know. Now is the time to tell them. I'm telling you to go, and I'm telling them, you put it in your mouth. You tell them to go, and you have the power now to command these attacks to leave your life.
And I mean, that brings us to the whole theme of the season is this is the season of go. But right. There's all different levels of that. And in order to go, we have to let go. Right. Yes. And then we can also tell these things to go. Right. So the power of this word go for us. And when we know that it's God speaking go over us, that means that something big has arrived. Right. It's like the tapestry of your life is all coming into focus. Every slingshot moment, right? It's like everything is here in the here and now, and we can feel it in our soul. And the ego freaks out because all it sees is the potential of failure, pain. Like it wants to stay where it's comfortable. And to your point about like getting stuck in these different things that we do, you can get stuck in doing the work. You can get stuck in the discovery of self. That in itself has a seductive element to it, where it's like, no, I'm not ready yet. I'm still doing this work. I'm over here. And so then you come to a resolution of that. Now you're looking for the next thing that's wrong with you, right? So you do the work in there, and you're so busy in the process of doing the work that you never start actualizing the progress that you're making, right? So God is basically saying, stop, just stop, because you need to go, and you need to go now. And anything that you perceive as being in your way, in your line of vision, holding you back, it's actually just an aspect of you jumping in front of you, right? Like I was telling Amy that it was like this image in my head of being in God's slingshot, like you're in the little pocket and he's got you pulled all the way back, right? And you're like desperately hanging on to this branch behind you, like, no, I don't want to go. But it's time, and the launch and the flight and the joy and the excitement and the awe and wonder of this amazing journey that he's about to launch you into. And, Amy was sharing with me like some of the, the prophets and things that she listens to, and just people who are in tune with the spiritual season, and these words that were coming forward of that this is truly a year of go, because God has literally put every provision there for you that you could possibly need. And so it's no longer an excuse for you to say, I'm not ready, because of the fact that you don't have this and you don't have that and you don't have that. We talk about this all the time, that the ego speaks in the language of lack, right? Those are the voices in your head, whereas God speaks in the language of having, right? And abundance. And you already have, I've literally given you every single thing that you need to take a step forward right now and to go. And the minute you start moving, the pieces are going to start to fall into place. And what's he going to do?
Blow our minds. I keep having this vision now. My favorite movie is The Golden Child, and he's like going to like the knife, and he's got to like go through the darkness, and there's kind of like tree stumps or something stuck up, and there's a part where like some of the tree stumps are falling, and then they start to kind of appear, like he almost looks up and they kind of appear under his feet. So it's a faith walk. Like I'm going to do like a study one time why I love The Golden Child so much as a kid, because I'm sure it totally correlates with with everything about a faith walk. But like I envision like there comes a time in your maturity and you've done all the work, like you said, and of course the work's never done. So I'm always gonna have to say that, because someone's gonna be like, you can't, no one's ever done. But when in this season, you've done all the work, and the faith walk really does become about taking a step before the stairway's there, before you can see the next step. I know there's a quote out there somewhere with that,
it's
but like
Martin Luther King. Yes, faith is about taking the step when you can't see the whole staircase.
Thanks, Dr. King. So, I mean, that's the season we're in, like to be able to go to take the step. And I envision myself like just starting to walk. And I think the sermon that if you want to listen to it, it's Sarah Jakes Roberts. It's called A Bold Move. It's incredible. If you're in the season of your life, it's the bold move. It's the, like, I see myself just walking. And I think you said something, Jenny, about someone else that we know, like being able to walk through hellfire, like, and things are coming at them, but that's the way I see myself. But it's almost, I'm coming out of that darker, fiery season to now it's like the angels and the heavens. And it's like each step now isn't the things coming at me. Now it's like the leveling up. It's I'm like going up to heaven, and every step is like, I can't see it, but I'm taking it because, and you were talking about the some of the prophets that they have the gift of prophecy. I was really down for a couple days in this mess that I'm talking about. And I just said to God, one of my requests right now is just to have people that have gone before me and lead me and guide me and speak over me. And just, I pray to God all the time. But like you said, when you're in the work and you've been isolated and it's just you and God. Oh, it gets so comfy in his arms. I got daddy. But he's like, okay, kid, go. Like, you need to go outside and play now, And you're like, but it's so comfy here. That's how I was feeling at the moment. And I was like, okay, I know I need to like be a big girl and like, I need people now. So I haven't had people in my life like that. Like, I've had my peers who are amazing and speak over me and speak confidence into me, but I was praying for that. And lo and behold, I get on Facebook, which I do rarely now. Like, I might scroll and I see one of the people I used to listen to. And I click on it, and long story short, she says, it's the season of unprecedented favor. It's time. And I think she even said it's time to go. And she was like, and I was like, wait a minute. And all the words started to align. And I'm just like, and she said, do you know what this means? She's like, this means you can walk into places and things are already happening for you. The loans are already approved. The people are in boardrooms talking about they need you, but they haven't met you yet. Like, do you even understand how God has gone before you, and that plan and that vision that he gave you is no longer something you have to will into your life or do into your life. You must keep walking. You must keep walking in it. You have to do the work. You have to go into the bank. You have to go seek these people, but he's got it all aligned for you. And it turned me inside out. I mean, I was like, thank you, God. Like, I just needed that word so much to just give me that like last boost I needed to go. And it was time. It was literally time to go. And that is, I have to keep coming back to it over and over. Unprecedented favor. There's nothing anymore you have to, it's already been done. I'm just, that's the difference of lack and scarcity and abundance, is that when you live in abundance, it's already done. You're not chasing anything. You're not trying to get anything. You're in prayer. God shows you something. Tell me how to get there. It's already done. So that's the space that I'm probably not 100% fully walking in it, but I'm feeling pretty good now, because I know I don't have to work really hard and hope. We talked about that, like hope anymore. My hope is in the fact that like my life is going to be good, but I don't have to hope for little things anymore. It's done.
Right. And this is the part of the now that is blowing my mind, that the minute that I just keep blowing, right? I just keep blowing it away, because the habitual parts of me, those very deep and old patterns that have been there, maybe even from birth, maybe I was given them by my parents, these survival skills, these perspectives on life, the poverty mindset being one that I have suffered with my whole life. And it sneaks in every single month, right? It's like my bills get paid, and then the next month's coming around and I go back into the same conversation with myself again. Oh my God, how is this going to happen? And meanwhile, I've been in cycles of years now. It's not just months, cycles of years, where it just keeps showing up. It just keeps showing up. God keeps showing up, right? And I still have the doubt, right? And this past week, there was a shift that happened where it's kind of like what you were talking about, how like you feel that you feel the attack come in, right? You feel it descend on you. But at the same time, and I actually turned around and was like, I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry that we're having this conversation.
Yeah, again.
Because it's like in the moment of the doubt, there's 6 synchronicities that come in that moment to completely dispel any doubt, any fear, right? I mean, there's always going to be a fear of the unknown. It's just how we're built as human beings, right? Yeah. But there is something that becomes thrilling, almost borderline comfortable. And maybe it's just because you become accustomed to what that feels like. So it's like a normal instead of something that you only experience every once in a while. And when this is what happens when you repetitively surrender, right? You go into this place of knowing that you can't see past the stair that's in front of you. So everything is unknown because you've given it all away, all of it. And so when you're inside of that place for long enough, you get to understand, you get accustomed to what that feels like. And I don't know if it's ever comfortable. I don't know if that's the right word. It's just familiar. It becomes familiar. And you had even said it the other day when we were chatting, that it creates this freedom. There's this freedom in the unknown of not having to overplan and to be able to break old patterns of hypervigilance and those things that we worry and worry and worry about, right? Because inside the unknown, the ego gets triggered to control, right? Because when we feel out of control, the survival skill is to go into control. And depending on what your methods of control are, you will do those things. Worry is a method of control. If we can't control, we will worry. Okay. So worry is a manipulation tactic of the ego to try to attempt control in uncontrollable situations, right? So when we start to go into the unknown, remember we were talking about last week, all the what ifs, like in that sabotage, cycle, your brain starts spitting out, and it's designed to do this. It's designed to spit out all of these, predictive things that could possibly happen. And every single one of them is going to have pain involved, right? So now you have all of these possibilities in front of you of what potentially could happen inside of the unknown, and they're all scary.
That's right.
So what do? We go into paralysis. And so in this particular season that we're in, as Amy keeps saying, you could probably say, no, I'm past that part. Like I'm kind of past that part, but I'm in this new space now that kind of feels similar, and it's even scarier. And it's like the weight of, I was using the analogy of, this ego death that we go through. All that means is that there are survival skill sets and ways of seeing the world and living inside of the world that no longer fit you, right? But the ego wants to keep it the same because that's how it stays alive, right? And so we move into a new season where these things don't serve us any longer. And the only way we can move forward is by cutting those things loose, casting them out, letting them go, let them be a part of the past. Don't bring them with you into this next chapter of your life. And that means that we have to be willing to be in a place of trust and faith that even though we don't have a roadmap in our hands or a blueprint, that it's already been designed, it's already been made, and it is going to get handed to us at some point. Right. And so I was using the analogy of dragging around dead bodies, right? It's like, it starts to get heavy, and it starts to stink, by the way, and you're wondering why you're attracting all these flies. Well, it's because you're dragging around all these dead bodies.
Oh my gosh. That's so good. I mean, you literally, if you think of all the past versions of you, of every little lesson you've learned, of everything you've ever changed that hasn't quite like dropped off of you yet, it revisits you. Those are the dead bodies you're carrying around. And it's so heavy, and we don't need them anymore. And God's trying to tell us, it's okay, I got you. And it's so, for me, if you got it, you got it. But it's so hard to understand this. And maybe it's not the science is what makes it easy, of the reasons why, like we have to keep that little kid inside of us. Like, we don't, like, I think I was talking to you about this, like, we don't want to kill the little kid inside of us anymore. It's the little kid that got all these protective measures for whatever reason. Mommy and daddy yelled all the time, or daddy wasn't there, or horrible things happened to you, or maybe you didn't look like the rest of the kids that you went to school with, and maybe people talked to you a certain way, or maybe every time you created this story and every time you went to do it, the story was validated. Like, nobody really likes me anyway, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, or every time I try to make more money, no one wants to, I can't get a raise, because whatever these stories are, we tell ourselves. So we start to do the work, and there's the little kid inside of us is still hanging on, and like, hey, like, you know, this always happens, but we start to kill it. So that's what you're talking about, like the ego death. And there's these little, like, and like, you don't want to kill the little kid inside of you. It's like the safe part of you. You want to keep it. But the more that you start to kill and release and kill and release, there, I think we're at this moment right now where I just said to you before this recording is like, but we don't want to kill the kid. Like, the kid is
Right.
who we are. There's beautiful things inside the kid. Like, the kid is awesome. That kid, before, when you can last remember, and I did this a part of my retreat, the like finding you, putting you first retreat, is that like there's a kid inside of you. Like, do you remember when you had that kid that like didn't worry? Like, it just got to go play. Maybe you were only 4, maybe you were 8, like maybe you were blessed to be 12. I don't know. But that kid, that's what we're talking about right now. We're trying to get that little kid that could dream and jump and grow and didn't care if it got dirty and like wanted to be a, you know, unicorn, you know, whatever. Like, just this child of awe and wonder and dreaming that the world told us we're not allowed to be that. Like, you're tripping right now. Like, I know people are thinking about me because right now I am, and you said surrender. It's been a big theme of my life. I've given him piece by piece by piece of my life. And I don't, you know, I don't highly recommend this for people. I think my path is my own. But, you know, my path of surrender has literally been to surrender everything to him. And I have said before, everything, you know, money, job, relationship, a home, like it's missionary, like work time for me. And I don't mind it because, like you said, it was so beautiful. With surrender, these ultimate surrenders come freedom when you start having that faith inside of you. And what I heard when you were talking, it was so beautiful. God just spoke to me when you were talking about the synchronicities and how, like, when we doubt and we worry, and he brings us in these synchronicities. And if you don't know what that means, you do know what that means. It's just that those moments where you're like, whoa, that was crazy. Like, I was talking to my friend about that, and then I scrolled on Facebook and saw, oh, Facebook hears me. Like, sometimes
Yeah.
that's true, but like there are these spaces that God fills in, that he's going, it's me, it's me, it's me. Just admit that it's me. I'm trying to love on you. And that's what he said to me. It's being loved. And that is a process that I'll tell the story one day, that was a huge part of my growth in with God, is accepting love, knowing what it feels like to really be loved by a being that created me, that is going, I got you, girl. Like, I formed you in your mother's womb, and I put a purpose in your body. You don't think I got you? Like, when I tell you to go, go. I don't understand what you're not getting here. Like,
Mhm.
like pushing that little kid. It's the kid in me, I think, that became the Amy that had all the fears or had the worries or the doubts. That kid right there, that's the moment I'm trying to just chop that off and get just the good stuff, you know, just the dreamer back in my life. So when now, and this go is going to be all year. This isn't a one-time go. This is a go now. And then we're going to get a sign. It's going to make go there and go there. And every time I'm going to have to chop off all those thoughts. I'm going to have to literally, when he tells you to go, you must command the old you to go. It's like this exercise that we're going to have to keep doing this whole year.
Yes. And, you know, I've been talking about this a lot with my clients, this new level of vigilance that doesn't require anxiety, that doesn't require eyes on the back of your head, it's a different energy. It's a discipline. It's just different. And that it's something that you want to engage in because you're being fed along the way through these connections. And where Amy said to me, see, this is the year of God going, I told you so. I told you. I told you. I told you. And, you know, and for those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, you can go find me on Instagram at Jenny Israel CPC. I did come out of the proverbial spiritual closet this week and started sharing my testimony on some lives about what I've been going through the last couple of years, and, you know, talking about some things that I haven't talked about yet. and what that has been like as far as that identity death for me. And it was a big one, and it was one of the hardest things that, you know, I've ever done. But this, you know, the scripture that there was a scripture she was kind of alluding to, that Jeremiah 3 is one that I've gone back to over and over again, of, you know, in that part of the story, you know, God's telling Jeremiah to go out and speak to the nations, right? And he's just this kid. And he's like, I can't do it. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. You can't ask me to do this. And God basically saying, like, I knew who you were before you were born. I designed you. I put these words in your mouth. So yes, you are going to do it because this is your purpose. And, you know, that space in between, that little space in between where you're saying, where you've actually received the charge, right? At some point it came down on you, however it did, however came into you, however got downloaded onto you or into you. There is a knowing that there was something else, whatever that something else is, that the way that things are right now is no longer okay. And there's got to be more, right? And so we set out with that intention of finding more. And what we end up having to do is get rid of everything in order to allow that more to come in. But in that space where God's saying go, and you're saying, I can't, that was a space of being suspended in. It was awful. It was terrifying. It was painful, because in that space, I had to forget who I thought I was and take on the identity that had been designed for me, right? The purpose that had been designed for me. And a mission that scared the crap out of me. And, you know, that it was like, I'm going to have to speak truth now to a following that I've created over the last 10 years. And they're going to be like, what the heck happened to you?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to lose my constituency. I'm going to lose my clients. I'm going to lose my business. I'm going to lose myself. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what my mission is. I don't know what my purpose is. You know, I have all these gifts. I'm not going to use them anymore. What are you talking about, God? Because none of that matters. And things have gotten way too complicated.
Yes.
Way too extreme. Right. And, you know, we talk about simplifying and realigning, how simple it really is. And the difficulty of being in that place, because you can't hear it, you can't see it, you can't see how simple it is. And this is where, you know, God starts to drop in. And like, I've gone back to, just in the last 2 weeks, I have had multiple points of connection from back in 2018, 2018.
Me too. It's been
I
crazy.
I don't know what everybody else had going on in 2018, but maybe you should check your calendar, because there is something going on right now cosmically, where what the things that are happening now, it's like God's just dropping jigsaw puzzles in my lap all day, every day. And the picture is forming faster than my brain can even process it. And as Amy said, I'm going to punch this thing in the face. Like, there are so many synchronicities right now. It's like, if I hear one more thing, I'm going to punch it. You know, but this idea that it's all being shown, suddenly everything is clear.
Yes.
And I think to myself, like, all the way back then, before, I mean, I was an awake person, but not awake the way that I am now. But I was still following, right? I was still following and moving along and doing my thing. And all the things that I was doing, all the things I was teaching, the new businesses that I was starting, the people that I was meeting, the timing of all of those things in that period of time have been slingshotted into this moment right now. And I'm watching it all come together. And it's to the point where, like, I want to lay on the floor and cry, like crawl, like roll into a little ball and hysterically cry, because the gratitude wants to come out of my ears, my eyes, my every pore in my body, because it's this moment of God going, I told you.
That's right. And I always say that the most important part of faith building is maybe journaling these moments, whatever you need to do to cement them in you, tattoo them on your, I mean, I shouldn't tell people to get tattoos, but I don't have any. So, but tattoo them on your life somehow, that you will always remember when you get in these spaces, and it may be next week, like it may be next year, maybe 3 years from now, but always remembering that God came through and he did really work it all together for your good. That's Jeremiah 29:11. Anyway, I shouldn't be quoting because I don't know all scriptures, but I know them. I don't know their, as my dear friend says, their addresses. That's where they live. But working all things together, like that's what I always tell people. Like he said to me one time, Amy, my people don't praise me as much as they prayed for me to answer. So like we spend these years praying and praying and praying and wanting God to answer the prayer, and then he answers it. I watch it happen all the time. He gives us this miraculous answer, and think even now what you're talking about, that's miraculous. It's miraculous that he's pulling things from 4 or 5 years ago and making it make this pretty puzzle that you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw yourself on the floor. But like, let's stay there. Let's stay in a constant state of, like God says, when we die, we're in a constant state of worship. Like, because it's just so good. That's what I think. Like, it's just so freaking good. Your just body is full of just like pure worship. Like, so these moments, it's like every time it comes back around and those voices come in, like, I just want to become so powerful that they have to lay down. Like they have no space, because I'm believing in him now. Like something happened to me at the beginning of this year. Something happened to me that felt very charged up. Like there's a strength, there's like this, the renewing of your strength,
Mm-hmm.
the eagles, he says that if you wait on the Lord, that's what I've been doing, waiting on the Lord. It was a song I used to worship, wait on the Lord. And then I thought I'd have to be there forever till I die, because that must be where God is. That's what it felt like. It felt like it was just taking forever. And this is just must be life, just pain and sorrow. And, he says you'll mount up on wings like eagles, because in that weakness, he became the strength. And now I've given it to him. And I think I told you, I feel like it's time for me to soar. Like all I have to do, and you said the Holy Spirit is the wind. All I have to do now is open up my wings, and he's coming through. And that's what's happening. It's like everything is just whirlwind coming together. I had like just last night, I had read something somebody wrote, and I knew it was about me. And it was a beautiful testimony that she had witnessed my response to a very horrible situation in my life in 2018. And that I know it was me. It was just too specific. And that I held strong and kept my mouth closed, and God repeated to me, vengeance is mine, Amy. I got this. And I was to be quiet, and I was to tell my friends to be quiet and stand down, stand down. And I've been in this place of just standing down and being covered by God, and the wings, just all these scriptures. He took care of me. And so now when he says, spread your wings, go, even just in the first couple, I would say in the weeks of this flight, this takeoff, literally, like I actually got up in the air and flew back to the east.
Yes.
Like this on a plane that was full of Philadelphia Eagles, because I was flying into Philadelphia. Eagles have just been huge in my life on every major move. So it was just funny. Like I'm getting on the plane and talking about synchronicities, right? And I text Jenny, I'm like, I didn't even connect this. Like God has me flying home on a flight, and they just yelled out EAGLES Eagles. And I was like,
they were on Marco Polo together when it happened. She's sitting there in the terminal, and all of a sudden you hear the whole crowd like starting the EAG, and her face, just everything about her being just changed. And she was like, oh my God, I am on a plane full of Eagles fans.
yes.
And they just spelled the word Eagles.
This is like where you just want to punch it. You're like, what do you call it? Synchronicity aggression, or what do you?
Yes, or synchronicity aggression.
It's just like you can't. I'm like, Jenny, like this is the moment. Like it's takeoff time, and like if you just believe, and like I said, if you have a hard time with it, look around you right now. Look at what he's done in your life, and you'll start to believe like he's got you. He's got you, and this is going to be the year of told you so. You.
And this is, so I want to go back to something that you said about that period in your life where you had to keep your words inside, right?
Yeah.
It was like, and this is something that, so I want to, you guys know how I love natural law, and God's law and God's system. And, when we look at it from a perspective of how God designed the energetic world that we live in order to make word life, right? So there's law that creates living word, right? And keeps it moving inside of our existence. And so, you use the word like vengeance is mine. And, we don't necessarily believe in a vengeful God, and that, but if we look at it from the perspective of like, I've got this because I actually designed things to work in a very specific way, and you have to get out of the way in order for these cycles to complete themselves in the way that I designed it without interference and without harming yourself, right? It's like
Yes.
sending an arrow, taking the arrow out of your quiver, right? Sending it out into the air. Are you going to run out and jump in front of your own arrow? No, you're not going to do that, right? So the idea of letting things be as they are, right? Because everything is going to take care of itself because God has literally designed our existence to do that, right? And so unless you want to be a part of the consequence,
Yes.
get out of the way and let God take care of it. And that's in every single thing in your life, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. Our universe is literally designed to send out and magnetize back the things that we are in conversation with God about, right? And the patience and the waiting, you talked about that too. On my feed today, I think it was Instagram, my Instagram reels, there was a pastor talking about waiting and patience, right? And he's like, why is it if you're going to be a steward of God, you're just made to wait all the time? Like it's a life of waiting, right? And he's like, even all the stories in the Bible, there's all these stories about these great leaders where they just had to wait. God gave them word and then they just sat in it for like 120 years. Noah waited for the flood, right? Or like build the boat, and then you're gonna wait 120 years for the flood to come, right? So it's like, well, why is it always about waiting? Well, because that's where the faith happens. The faith grows and cultivates, and you flex that muscle of faith inside of that waiting game, inside of the wait. And then all of a sudden one day the wait is over and you're being showered with miracles, and it's in that moment that you realize it was all worth it, right? But we so frequently forget that because if you go back in your own timeline, I guarantee you could pinpoint a couple of minutes in your life, where you had that revelation come over you, right?
Yes.
And then an hour later, you're in the car with road rage and you've just forgotten about the miracle that just dropped into your life because now the ego has taken over again. And here we are back in our humanness, right? So, it is these moments of, and I actually journaled this when all of this was like descending on me, or maybe I was ascending through it. I like that idea better. I'm like ascending through all of this wisdom and being able to observe it all at the same time, which is also a gift in the moment, because sometimes you can be in a rapid ascension and it's coming so fast that you can't even take it in, right? But I've been given this gift of like time almost, it's like moving at warp speed, but almost has slowed down. So I can actually see every little piece of the puzzle, every little thread is glowing, and I can see each and every one in its individual glory, but how it's created this whole picture, right? And inside of that, this moment where I sat in it and I was like, please God, just give me the gift of memory of this.
Yeah.
Like I want this burned into my frontal lobe so I will never forget it again. So tomorrow when I wake up and, it's just a shitty day, that like I can still remember that I'm literally in the birth of a miracle, right? And that I can go back to that place.
Yes.
This is I put out a post yesterday that this book that I'm reading it's just blowing my mind and shifting my soul all around. And she uses all of this ancient language and these words that and I love words. I just, obviously I'm a talker, I just love words. And this one word, hadea, that meant undivided, and this idea of anthropos, being a true human being. And what it meant to be a true human was to be a complete united version of self and soul, right? Or ego and self. I can't remember exactly the way she said it, but it basically was the two halves of the whole united as one and fully integrated. And so like, you're loving yourself as a human being, you're loving your human experience. And the reason why you can fall in love with that so deeply is because you are completely aligned and in tune with your divinity. Right. And so, in these spaces of challenge, when we're going through these deaths, it's like trying to remind ourselves that there simultaneously there is a rebirth happening. When I was going through all of the stuff that's in my testimony, I'm not going to go into it again here. You can go to my page and listen to the video. But my prayer for myself was to be made new.
Yeah.
That was what I was asking for, was to be
You
made
didn't
new.
know what you were asking
I
for.
had no idea that that meant that I literally had to shed every part of myself in order to be made. I mean, it makes sense, right? When you think about it,
Mhm.
like that it would be a natural, logical part of the
Right, right.
process.
Can't even imagine.
But when we have to wait inside of it and it takes linear time, and we're talking years, then, that space is a place where there are gifts happening and births happening. But being able to find this space of gratitude in order, and memory of those miracles, to be able to get yourself through that place.
Yeah, so maybe that's a charge that we have in our journal. Each time we do a journal post that people can download, that's one of the things that they do. Like, take an assessment, look back in your life, think about those prayers that you prayed. I mean, I'm thinking right now, it makes me want to cry. I'm thinking, dang it, like it really wants to come to. But thinking about the times in my life when I remembered I was on my face begging God for a way, or just for his presence, or just help me get out of something and provide a way out. And just looking back and thinking of my life now, how many times, like I call sometimes, one moment I called the open the sea moment, where like Moses, God just, there was no way out, and God just like had the parting of the sea moment. Or like, I don't know if I made it to the Holy Land yet. I feel like that's a journey I've been on too. Like, I was wandering in the wilderness. Like, so many biblical stories come to life when you walk with God. Like, you become all the quote unquote characters in the Bible. And it's just thinking back of really, like, those are miracles, Amy. Like, those are miracles. And like, there's no reason why God can't do it again. And it just keeps getting better. It's not like you literally, we're talking about leveling up. Like, we can level up. And it's like, why wouldn't they be more mind blowing now? Like, life has been progressing. Now it's like, and like I said, I don't want to say, my sacrifice deserves God's blessing. My sacrifice is very, very genuine. And it's still a sacrifice sometimes every day. It's not like I gave it to him and it's gone. But like, when I've given him even my mind sometimes, like these moments, like, I do think that he's like this, like a father that's like looking at me like, I got you, like, trust me when I say all the promises that I gave you are true. Like, look back on your life. I've always been there. I've never left you. I'm always working it all out. And right now, what's about to happen this year, like going back to the very beginning of this, like he keeps saying, I am really about to blow your mind. I don't know if you're ready for it, but you better get ready for it. Because, and so in these moments, like with you, Jenny, like being able to reflect on these things, like, hey, write them down. Like, pray if you need to pray. Like, help my memory, God. Like, do I have a blessing book? Is there, like, what is it that I'm going to ask God? What do you want me to do? Is it getting out there and posting and letting people know? Like, maybe it's a Facebook Live. Maybe you've never done that before. Whatever it is for you to really like sit with the fact, like, God is real. He's been there for you. He's given you blessings. And now it's a blessing season. Like it's the harvest time, as they say in the Bible. Like you planted all these seeds and you've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And maybe it didn't rain as much. And you're just sitting there like, oh God, I hope and now things are springing forth. And this year it's going to be a massive harvest.
And I mean, we keep referencing March as, the new year. And that goes back to our very first episode. We are talking about the idea of being in tune with God's design as far as seasons are concerned. And then we were talking about the literal season of spring and how it feels like that's the beginning. Like the beginning of the year is, that time when the earth is waking up and things are starting to be made new, on the earth. And now that's true for us here. We talk about it because we're Northeastern girls by birth, and being used to growing up in a place where we did experience the 4 seasons, and that spring season was a time when the earth was waking up and the little crocuses were popping their heads up out of the soil. And it was like back in the year before or the season before, all those seeds got planted. And then the earth went to sleep for a while and meditated on all of those possibilities. And now as the new year comes forth, those things are starting to push their way up, right? And we're actually able to start to see the product of the seeds that were planted so long ago. And so that's why this season right now is so important, and why it's a little bit more impactful, why it's a little bit more profound as far as the season of go, because it's like that little crocus, right? Think about these teeny tiny little flowers that are brilliant in their color. They're only like 3 or 4 inches high, right? Somehow those little buggers manage to push themselves up through frozen ground, right? Or it's like the lotus flower that pushes its way through the mud to get to the light, right? It's like these are the moments where the impossible is made possible. Those things, and I always think about the bees, like one of the first insects to show up as the weather starts to get warm. Even before there's flowers blooming, the first thing that they have access to are dandelions, because it's the first weed that pops up, right? And so they're collecting from those first. Did you know that a bumblebee is actually goes against all the laws of physics, that it should not be able to fly? It should not be able to carry its own body weight, right? Did you also know that all of the bees that are out there collecting are all females? Just saying. And then not only the size of their body, right, with the ratio of their wingspan, then they're out there collecting all of this pollen that like doubles or triples their weight, and they can still fly out like a 3-mile radius from their home and find their way back, right? Maybe take a nap in a flower halfway home. But this idea of completely defying the laws of gravity, the laws of physics, right? This is a quantum miracle that occurs every single year. And what are you doing? You're swatting those things away and running and scared, right? And they are miracles. They're little miracles. Yeah. And so, this season of unprecedented favor, when the harvest starts to come forth, but it's not time to pick it yet. It's just time to cultivate it and be there with it as it grows and get excited about what you see happening, right? Be a part of that growth. Go out and weed your garden, like those kinds of things. All of those concepts of what spring is, this season of rebirth. And that the death that we're going through collectively right now is more profound because we are about to leap into the season of rebirth. And so God is desperately trying to show you that you do not have to carry these dead bodies around with you anymore. In fact, let them compost into the earth. Let them go. Because another year from now, all those things that you released into the compost are going to bring the new seeds up.
Hey, I love that. Yeah, let the bodies hit the floor. I keep singing it every time. Let the bodies hit the floor. Yeah, just let them. I mean, that was just beautiful what you ended on there. That how that can, if you let them compost, God uses everything. He uses everything. And I think that's where we're going to see the favor this year, is like Man, it's gonna be like so many like mind-blowing things happening. How like, oh, that friend that you met a couple years ago knows this person that oh, you know that person. And I mean, the way that he's gonna weave it, it's gonna be incredible. And I know we're gonna be telling all of our stories this year. And I'm just really excited. I think that it is a constant, I hope not a constant like toiling. I don't think it's a toiling anymore. I don't think it's like, oh no, I gotta fight. I think that we have the power to cast these things out and stand. That's what I'm doing right now. I am making it my job to like warrior woman right now. I am blocking and I got my sword, and I feel like that about a lot of people I know. Like I want to send everybody like warrior women, like we're just like the what was the Woman King? Like I didn't see the movie, but like the commercials where they're all just charging. That's how I feel like we're ready like for war. We've trained, and we're no longer like we got that pep talk, like we're ready to go and we're charging and we're just like going. That's the feeling I'm building up inside of myself right now, because we're gonna need it. Because look, where there is unprecedented favor, there's the enemy is gonna try to that's the only place he has right now is the power of the mind over you. So like, man, you start like letting the bodies hit the floor, the ego deaths, let them all hit the floor, keep walking, because if he can't get to you, like, what's he gonna do? I mean, literally, like, we got work to do. That's what I feel like he's saying. Like, we got work to do. I've given you, I posted a story that said, like, there's people waiting on you. This isn't about you anymore. The season of you is over. The learning season. It isn't about you anymore. It's taking and giving away everything that I taught you and telling people your testimony, because there's people that are coming on the back end and they need you right now. So don't be selfish. I know it feels good, but you can't be selfish right now. And that's not how I thought I was being, but when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, that is what it's being. Like, it's time to go because people need you.
Oh my God, I love that so much. And I'm thinking about what you're saying about like there's no toiling. And even when I said about go pick your weeds, no, it's like this is a season where we actually declare that there is no such thing as weeds.
There's no
Like
weeds.
no weeds are growing in my garden this year. What are you talking about? Well, weeds grow everywhere, not my garden, not this
Right.
year, because I've declared that it is not so.
Declaration. Maybe that's what we can do next time. Talk more about just declaration and, living in the space of faith right now where we are. I mean, I know God will take it over, but that's really where I am. Like declaring what God already has done, living in abundance. I've been in training for a long time, not just with money, but an abundance mindset where like if you literally if you don't, and I kind of you saw me start to get like got a little angry there. Let me come back down. Let me save that for more personal moments. But if you don't align with me right now, you're literally falling off. It's just falling off me. Like I kept trying to find the scripture because I really wanted to use the scripture as like a weapon against people. Like I'm a child of God. And like, so if you try to come up, if you're lying about me, because this happened in my past, back to what I was talking about before, if you're lying about me, I don't have to do anything because I already know my God is fighting for me. Like it's just going to fall off. And I don't want to say you will be punished. Like you said, God isn't a God of vengeance, but he is a just God. And if there's people coming up against you and making this harder, oh well.
It's what our parents said when we were kids. What goes around comes around. What goes around comes around, right? Like that's real. That is natural law. And so, like I said, just get out of the way. Just make sure you are not in the line of fire of what you prayed for, right? And by you being in more alignment with God, with what God is saying, which is just stand aside and let me take care of you and let me do my job, right?
Because
so
you know what?
Versus conspiring in that.
And God kept telling me like, Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. He told him. And he still sat and he still served him food at the table. Like, you're about to totally screw me over. But you know what? I know it's all for my good. Like, I know I need you. Here's the thing. I need you, Judas, to get me to the next level. I'm about to save the world. So you think that you've done something bad to me. You just took me to my next level. That's how I've been feeling. Like, you think you're doing something against me? My God's using you. You're just something he's using. And I'm talking about people that mean for evil, and or maybe they're just not, there's lots of, we can go with another hour on that, but like, just people who operate in evil, whatever that looks like, that might look just like lying on you, or just not being nice, and just, people with a job, or like, it doesn't matter, but it's operating in not this like wanting you to succeed. They want you to fail. If that's your Judas, give him the kiss. It's the kiss of death. But guess what? Is the death for you is a beautiful thing. Like, you just helped me out. You're helping me out. Why would I, like you're saying, like, why would I want to go kick your, in whatever way that means? Like, it might be online, like that might be the way you do it. Or maybe you are physical and you do want to punch them in the face. Whatever it is, let's just know that God is using it all, because these are the moments where he accelerates. That's what I feel like. Like, it's an acceleration. Once Judas said that's him, his purpose was accelerated. So allow it. It's not going to harm you.
Well, and I think that it's a good thing to end with, to talk about the fear that comes up inside of our humanness around, leveling up, which is, it's something that's never going to go away. Fear is never going to go away. It just depends on how you can translate it, and then what do you do with it, right? So there's an anxietal fear that puts us into paralysis. And then there's this fear that comes from like a fire in our belly, where we are scared to death because we know that something profound is about to happen, and we're charging into the fear, right? And so this is the fear of the season that's right now, is God showing you it. I know you're afraid. I know you are, but just charge into it. Charge into it, because on the other side of that, once you pierce that veil, everything that you've prayed for is right there on the other side. And so, it just goes to like wrap back around to what we were saying of this season that we've been feeling of go. But that go, I hear my kids, they're playing their video games. Let's go. But the idea of let's go has to mean that you're letting go, that you also have to let go. And the idea of go, like get out of my way, right? Yeah. Casting out, rebuking, whatever words you want to use for that, cutting cords, like whatever your language is. But knowing that this is the season to go, don't be afraid, run toward the fear, that everything that you have asked for is literally right there. All you have to do is believe it. And I know this sounds so cliche, but I don't know if it's ever been truer in my lifetime, at least, like energetically. I just feel it on a spiritual level that this is a year to go. And so don't hesitate, just go. So, we always end our episodes with the invitation. So we've basically told you what that invitation is. And then we always like to end with the ointment. I'm going to give that to Amy, because she always does such a nice job.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I really think that the ointment always starts with, your prayer and your meditation. But I think that the ointment actually, for me this time, is like the most simplest thing. Like, we're literally saying just go. The ointment is just the acknowledgement that, again, you said like cliche, like what will be, but not just like what will be, but like what will be in the purpose and the visions God's given you for life. It's already done. So the ointment literally just ends up being the belief. Just believe it. That's it. Like, believe he's working everything together. Believe that, like, these things that have come against you, he's working that for good. And you're getting accelerated. All the plants, all the seeds that you have planted are popping through the frozen soil right now. You are getting ready to see it all. All you have to do is just believe, because he's already got it. And that is the key. That's the key to things happening. That's the key to, if you believe, you can't be in fear. You can't be in anxiety. They can't survive together. If you believe that God's got you, you have no space left for the old you. Like, it has to die. So the ointment is literally simply just believe it.
And I'm
And
thinking of like how you were saying with like the ointment on the sheep's face, you know, the protection. And I'm like, there's no ointment on the face. It's like
it's battle time.
warrior paint. Like
Really.
we are about to go. And so paint up because it's
Yeah. I mean, and that reminds me of the scripture that we are to put on the armor of God every day. When we're in war, and we are in spiritual war all the time, but now it's a different battle. I think and I'll try to be quick with this, we can wrap it up. But there's a couple times in the Bible where God sends prophets and sends army leaders into war. And each time I was reading about Gideon this morning, and he kept trying to follow God, and there was 150,000 in this land they were supposed to take over. And Gideon had all these people. And God said, you know what, Gideon, tell people if they want to leave, they should leave, because you don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that. But if you want to go to war, we need to shed. There's a word there for somebody. We need to shed the people who can't come with you, because their disbelief is going to interrupt and corrupt your belief. So shed. And then he gave them this command that, like, the soldiers that like go down to the water to drink, and those that cup the water and drank, and those that lap the water like an animal, like he got rid of half of them. He ended up going into battle with like 300 men. I don't remember the exact number, but it was nothing. But in the end, we won't have to tell the whole story. We know he won. And then there's another scripture where God made this tiny army sound like millions of giants in the woods around them, and the whole city that they were going to take over fled. And so this is the moment of battle where God is saying, I know it doesn't look like you have what you need. I know it doesn't feel like you have the support you need, but I'm telling you to go. And if you just charge, get the battle, put the armor on, and you just charge, it's all there for you. It's going to be so easy. It's unprecedented favor season. Just go, and the land's yours. It's already yours. It's already there.
Okay. On that level of excitement, we leave you. And as always, you know, we appreciate you taking the time to listen to all of our rantings and ravings and things that we have to say. Please just drop us a like. Share with your family and friends, anybody that you think might resonate with these messages. We greatly appreciate it. Anything that's going to help our algorithm, drop a little comment down below. But we do sincerely want to hear you. You know, we want to hear what your feedback is about these things that we're discussing. We want to hear your testimony. So don't forget to share that. You can share it here, share it in your circles, but just share it. Don't forget to come over to our Facebook community and join. I know things have been quiet. You know, it is an interesting season as far as the go. We've had this pause, this place where we've kind of been sitting in, and I mean, you're talking to two people who literally just follow instructions from management. So if we aren't told to go on that week, we're not going to go on that week. And so all of the, you know, we will start building momentum. You're going to start to see that more as we move into these next months of the year. So please come be a part of our community on Facebook, follow our pages on Instagram and Facebook, and, you know, don't forget to share these podcasts with people that you think would resonate.
That's right. Yeah, just want to thank everybody, and just join us Facebook community, where Jenny and I are going to start doing just some free kind of Q&A here and there. So look out for that. Just go ahead and like our page and join. There is a group on Facebook as well.
Yes. All right, everybody. Well, we hope that you have a wonderful week ahead. Stay tuned for more. And as always, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.